Hey, can you hear me?
Yo, you're on. You're on the show. Augustine Santa Rosa, how are you?
Hey, buddy, how's it going? I'm good. Yourself?
You know how it is. You win some, you lose some. So,
That's it, man.
so what do you got for us tonight? What do you want to red pill?
We can talk about cryptocurrency. If you want to start with like a basic introduction or any questions you want to ask yourself as someone who's like looking from the outside in. But what I'd really like to talk about is just kind of how the whole crypto ecosystem and environment has been taken over by the bankers and all that over the last few years, because there's a lot of crazy stuff going on within the world of Bitcoin.
Okay, go ahead, kick that off. Let's start off with that.
Okay, so basically where we've started over the last couple of years, what happened was there's a company called Blockstream, and they managed to take over the main development of the Bitcoin client and where the roadmap for Bitcoin is going to go. So basically, like, what they're doing is they're directing the the development of Bitcoin and where everything's going, and they're trying to take the scaling. Like, there's a scaling issue with Bitcoin where basically in last December, when the market went really apeshit wild and everyone was sending thousands of transactions, the Bitcoin network couldn't handle it because it was just too much going on in the network. And these guys, what they want to do is they're a for-profit company, and they basically want to take the transactions of Bitcoin off of the chain and put it into their side, like what they're calling Lightning Network, and then they just came out with this new thing called
Sidechain solution?
Pardon?
I'm looking at the article here. Blockstream's liquid sidechain solution for Bitcoin network goes live.
Yeah, that's exactly it, the liquid sidechain. So they just released that, and that's basically for like the big players. The Lightning Network's what they want to pitch to the small guys, but the basically, like, what they're doing is they're just trying to capitalize on an open source software, and for that liquid Bitcoin, they charge a monthly fee. So like, even to use that and send your Bitcoin faster, you have to pay these guys a fee, which that goes against everything that Bitcoin was started with, where it should be low, cheap cash transactions, right? Bitcoin is it's supposed to be a peer-to-peer electronic cash system, which is the number one thing that everybody was talking about back 5 years ago when Bitcoin really got started. So the whole thing is with these side chains and even this liquid Bitcoin thing, what you're doing is you don't have an actual Bitcoin within the liquid network. What you have is called LBTC. So they're just basically giving you like a Bitcoin token, and then you can supposedly redeem it. But it's going back to the thing of, why would you have a central authority holding all the Bitcoin, or controlling it in that kind of manner, when Bitcoin's supposed to be cryptographically secure, and like, you're supposed to have your own Bitcoin within your wallet. And what's really gone on over the last couple of years is going back to August of 2017, was there was a split within the network, and basically there was like two chains split off from one chain, and now there's Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. And a lot of the older people, like, I see a lot of my friends that have been in this for 5 years, 10, well, not 10, but 9 years, or like since the original days, like 2011, 2010. These guys are all starting to really wake up to just how corrupted it is. And what happens is, the moment you suggest like a scaling solution of increasing the block size, which is what Bitcoin Cash did, and their network's working fine. Like, I believe last time I checked, it was about 40, for every one Satoshi you would spend to send a Bitcoin Cash, it would be 43 times more on the Bitcoin network. So it's just more expensive to send. And what their argument is, of course, it's they have some accuracy to it, where they're saying like, less people will be able to host their own node. But the problem is, with a Bitcoin node, like, if you're not mining Bitcoin and you're just verifying transactions, like, it doesn't matter if a miner wants to mess with transactions or send a transaction to the wrong place, or like divert it. It's not going to matter whether you have a full node running or not. And what's really gone on in the whole Bitcoin world over the last year, what I've noticed is it's a lot of, how would you say, it's like a lot of name calling, and it's just gotten to such an ugly place where the system is just, it's so stupid. Like, people are basically becoming useful idiots for propaganda.
Yeah.
Similar to how when Trump was getting I compare this Bitcoin versus Bitcoin Cash thing, and I'm not sure if either are the right way. Who knows? There might be another cryptocurrency that comes along and might be better than both of them. For instance, there's one that I really like. It's called Monero, and it's basically, it sticks a little bit more to the true aspect of Bitcoin, where you don't have these big mining farms controlling the network, where you can only mine Monero with a CPU. So you're basically you have one computer, a CPU at your home. You can mine Monero, and you can't do that with Bitcoin. Like your home computer, there's no way in hell you'll even mine a 0.00, like 1 Satoshi of a Bitcoin. There's nothing that's going to come from that. And basically, so over the last year, I've just noticed a lot of, shilling campaigns. And if you go against the narrative of, we're going to scale off chain and we're going to do this Lightning Network and we're going to do liquid Bitcoin and all this, you get called names they call you a scammer, or you're trying to scam people and all this. And it's just there's no argument to be had. People don't argue of why increasing the block size works. And especially with something like Moore's Law, where you have
liquid sidechain solution for Bitcoin network goes low.
Sorry, it was just playing some stream here for Bitcoin network. Continue.
No worries. So basically, when you have Moore's Law and you take into account that, okay, if you increase the block size 2 times, you're going to have more data being stored on people's computers. So it is harder for people to store the actual blockchain and the record of transactions, which is important, very much so, because the more copies of the blockchain you have backed up around the world, the harder it is to take down. That's for sure.
Right. But basically, it's permanent. It's like a snake with 1,000 heads. You cut off one of its heads, it doesn't matter. It still comes up somewhere else, and it's permanent.
Exactly.
You have to destroy every piece of technology on Earth and the satellites in space to remove it.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. You'd have to go through almost every government agency in the world, raid every single person's house, the mining farms, all this, and remove the Bitcoin blockchain and software off of those computers and basically delete it. So it's very, very, that's why Bitcoin is successful in that way. But like I was saying, I just see that what happened over the last couple of years, it's really, really bad, is just there's too much propaganda within the industry, and people are, there's too much infighting as well. That's the other thing. It's hard to succeed when you have, what I look at it is, there's a lot of divide and conquer going on, but at the same time, when you see so much of the evidence point to, if you just follow the money within Blockstream and where they got their funding, it really makes you curious. Because, for instance, back in 2016, 2014 or 16, something like that, whenever they started up, they got a $55 million investment from AXA Strategic Ventures. Mm-hmm. And the CEO and chairman of AXA, his name is Henry de Castries, and if you go to Google and search chairman of the Bilderberg Group, that's the guy. So you have basically Bilderbergers within controlling the development for Bitcoin, and that really, really makes me sick that that's happening, because I don't trust the Bilderberg guys. They only care about their bottom line, right? Bitcoin's a threat to these guys, so how better to take out a threat if you can't take it out by, like you said, it's a snake with many heads that you can't take out. Mm-hmm. So how better to do it than, get involved with taking over the development, basically strangling that snake and making it hard for transactions to go through. Because, for instance, last December, when the market was really going crazy, it cost, I think I sent, I don't know, something like $2 or $3 grand, and it cost me about $50 in, I think it was 45 something within just fees, just to have my transaction mined within a decent time. And if I tried to lower my fee, I remember I was waiting a whole day for one of my transactions to even go through, which is just too slow. How are you going to compete with Visa or PayPal or any of these things within that? So it's messed up, right? And like I was saying, basically Blockstream is connected to the Bilderberg Group, which is just, it really makes you question the whole cryptocurrency thing and where they're trying to go with it. And then on top of that, you have MasterCard, who invested into Digital Currency Group,
Yep.
who then they invested into Blockstream. So if you look at MasterCard, the board director of Digital Currency Group actually is a guy named Glenn Hutchins, and he's also the board director of the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. So like, it just really makes you wonder what's going on. And like I said, I'm not sure if Bitcoin Cash is the proper solution either, but as of right now, I see Bitcoin Cash being a lot more true to the original vision of what Bitcoin was supposed to be.
So, founder Satoshi Nakamoto, basically the founder of the Bitcoin, the original Bitcoin, right? It is trading at $8,444.40 Canadian dollars.
I don't look at cuck bucks. I look at U.S. dollars.
Yeah. Okay.
It's it's like right now it's basically somewhere between six. Well, it depends where you're trading, but it's about between like 64.35.
Yeah, 64.35.89 United States dollar.
Yeah, exactly. And then on other exchanges, because there's a little bit of drama going on with this cryptocurrency called Tether. It's a stable coin that's supposed to be backed $1 to $1, which it is. Like, you can go on Bitfinex, the exchange that it trades on, and you can withdraw your Tether like 1 to 1. But because it trades on the open market and there's other markets, what's happened over the last couple of days actually even is there's been some rumors that a Rothschild, like basically IMMO, there's some Bitcoin wallet addresses of theirs and their trading bots that are starting to mess with Tether, because Tether is like the most liquid and the most traded stable coin, like the one that's $1 to $1 or supposed to be. Right now I think it's about like 97 cents or something like that, which is a little ridiculous. But basically what these guys are trying to do is they're trying to get regulated stable coins that aren't, you know, based in the Bahamas or the Seychelles Islands and are based within America. And there's a little bit of a scam going on there too, because some of these stable coins, they're written into the Ethereum blockchain and they can freeze accounts. Like, they can actually freeze your account. So it goes against what a lot of cryptocurrency is about, right? Like, you shouldn't be able to freeze someone's money. Like, when I've been transacting with Tether in the past, I've never had an issue of having to worry about my account being frozen or anything like that. Obviously, if you have it within an exchange and you get flagged for money laundering or terrorism or something like that, they will freeze your money, and that's for sure, which is why it's important to always, if you're holding and you're not trading your Bitcoin, you should always keep it on a wallet that's within your control, because basically when you're that's another, like, one of the powerful things about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency itself is when you have the coins in your control and they're on a wallet, like, it's basically you have a public key and a private key, and those are two corresponding, like, basically you think of the private key, it's like your password, and then your public key is your address. And basically it's cryptographically linked together, and that's what secures your money. That's why Bitcoin's so powerful. Like, for instance, I read a story the other day where people were escaping Venezuela, and, you know, they confiscate gold on the way out. Like, the government agents at the airport or the border or whatever, like, they're confiscating people's gold and stuff like that. But if you have Bitcoin and you have it on a private key that you own, like, you can, for instance, there's software that helps. Like, I think it's called the Electron Wallet. And basically, if you have coins on there, you can get a 24 or 12 word seed phrase. So as long as you remember those 12 words, like, say it's, you know, apple, banana, orange, Blockstream, whatever, like, go on with your list of 12 words. And if you memorize the mnemonics of those 12 words into your head, nobody can confiscate that out of your brain, right? Like, it's so secure. And that's the beautiful thing about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency. But like I said, it's just lately, the last couple of years have been really, really crazy. And especially now, too, you have Bitcoin trading on the CME group and the CBOE. So you have Wall Street with their hands all over this. And, you know, for instance, like last year, before it started to trade on before the future started to trade, like, it's so obvious what happened. And it sucks because a lot of people got burnt, right? Like, there was people that were buying Bitcoin at 20,000, 19,000, 15,000. Now it's half that.
Yeah. So okay, hold on. So when did you buy in? Did you buy Bitcoin, and when did you buy in? Did you buy it in at the right time?
Well under $1,000.
Okay, good. So did you trade when it was at 20?
About 15.
Okay. So you got a little bit back out of it. Good.
I'm doing all right.
Yeah. Okay.
And then like coins that you can kind of trade within too. That like it does, like even if Bitcoin goes down, but you're in a coin that, let's say, 2x's or 3x's, like you're still okay because you have more Bitcoin that you can then sell out for cash.
Right. Okay, I got an article open here. Bitcoin prices showing little upside as trade volumes approach yearly lows. So what's going on? This is from article from this morning actually. What is going on? Is trading going low? Bitcoin is currently changing hands at 6,483 according to CoinMarket.c. Prices were a little changed compared to previous session. BTC fluctuation range $50 range of most exchanges. Though what's Bitfinex?
Bitfinex is it's one of the oldest exchanges around. It's been here since 2013, and there's a lot of controversy going on with Bitfinex as well, because the whole USDT thing, which is that stable coin we were talking about earlier.
Yep.
There's a lot of people that don't like it and they see it as a threat to the ecosystem, which there is some truth to that, because should one of their bank accounts be seized or raided, then goodbye all your money. However, it's a solid coin, and every time, what I've noticed is every time there's some sort of conspiracies or FUD being spread, like FUD, for anyone listening that doesn't know what that term is, it's just basically fear, uncertainty, and doubt. Mm-hmm. Anytime that's being spread about, Tether, Tether's not illiquid, they don't have all the money in their bank account, because there was about 3 billion Tether in circulation, so $3 billion. Now, over the last couple of weeks, people have been cashing out, so I think it's gone down to about 2 billion. And every time people say, Tether's going to collapse, Tether's at the end, that's the time when you want to be selling into Tether or into actual fiat if you're trading on a regulated exchange like Coinbase or, right, Quadriga or whatever, wherever you are. But basically, yeah, it's like it happened in January, December. There was the FUD around that was just so intense, and what I think is a lot of it is just a psyop to get people to stay within Bitcoin rather than trading into a stable coin where they can preserve their money. Because if you sold your Bitcoin into Tether at 20,000 or 15,000, you'd get 2x or almost 3x that amount of Bitcoin now, right?
Right.
And
right.
And Tether hasn't imploded. And that happened actually the other week. There was another scare where basically Bitfinex stopped allowing deposits, which is stupid because they were still you could still withdraw, you just couldn't deposit. They were going through a bank switch. Mm-hmm. And basically everybody spread this, rumors, it's over, Tether's gonna collapse, blah blah blah. And at the end of the day, what happened was Bitcoin went from, let me check the chart here I have in front of me. Basically, Bitcoin went from about 63.41 that day, mm-hmm, all the way up to 7,800 almost on some exchanges in USDT price.
Okay.
Which is just nuts. And then now, you look at it, you're already down 10 to 20% from that high. And what I call it was just a massive pump and dump, and it was very coordinated because you had some of these big, crypto, and I put quotation marks around this, influencers, because none of these people really, nobody knows. No, there's no influencer, hardly, there's maybe 3 people within the cryptocurrency space that I actually look up to personally, and I think everyone else is just full of shit and really doesn't know, because no one knows everything, right? So, a lot of people just pretend like they're, I know Bitcoin and blockchain and all this better than you, but nobody knows better. Even myself, I don't know. I just know what I know and what I feel to be true in my heart, right? But
right. So
what happened was, it just they spread this rumor again, and it went all the way up to 7,800, and now it's 6,300. Withdrawals and deposits are both working on Bitfinex. So it's just that's what I talk about when I say there's a lot of psyops and basically,
I call it shadow trading or shadow buying.
Mm-hmm.
Pump and dumps. They do it in stocks with the mafia. With the mafia in New York, back in the mid and early to mid 80s, what they would do is they pump up stocks, like penny stocks. They pump them up with a lot of trades and buying, and then when they started to peak, they'd all dump their stock at the same time.
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. It's the same thing. Like that's the thing that if anybody listening in your audience is to be warned about cryptocurrency is you got to watch out for the pump and dumps and the coins that are being shilled, because when it, like, to me, there's maybe a maximum of like 10 coins that even have a use. And if you look on coin market cap, there's 2,100 coins or something like that are being traded today. And I would say 99% of them are going to die.
Mm-hmm. Oh, for sure. For sure. Like, it's just like anything else. Let me ask you, I want to ask you some basic questions, like very basic questions for people that are listening for the first time, or people that don't understand too much about cryptocurrencies or want to know more about it. First question, is cryptocurrency too ahead of its time? I mean, is it going to be, it will be the future? I believe cryptocurrency will be the future. I think it will be the way we end up going. But I think we're right now in the pioneer stages of it still. I
would say so, yes.
Yes?
Like, I mean, we're definitely not early adopters, because there's people who have bought in Bitcoin at, $30, $2, $1. There's people that got tens or hundreds of thousands of them for free just using a computer. So I wouldn't say we're necessarily in the pioneer stage or the early adopter, but we're like pre-use case. Like, at the end of the day, it's got a lot of media hype, and over the last year, like I was saying with the whole futures trading last year, like that was a big pump and dump, because you can tell that a lot of the money that came in was Wall Street insiders that knew, obviously, like these guys, there's no doubt in my mind, they all knew that futures were coming and that people were going to start trading Bitcoin futures. So they took advantage of that news, like from about last September, when China banned Bitcoin for the 5th time. These guys all started buying, and like you could see, like when you watch the trading, you can see, like when you see trading bots trade, there's a big difference between average trading bot that's programmed by some guy in his bedroom, or a trading bot that's programmed by a Wall Street professional, like with these algorithmic trades and all that. And you could just see it, like right from when Bitcoin hit about 4,500 all the way up to 7,000, then back down to 5,000, then back up to 10,000, then back down to 9, then up to 11, and back to 10, and whatever, all the way to that ride to 20,000. It was so obvious what was happening. It was a Wall Street pump and dump at that point. Like, normally it's the crypto whales that pump and dump, but it was just like you could see that Wall Street was getting in, and obviously I'd say there's some crypto whales, like some people that probably had hundreds of thousands of Bitcoin that took advantage of that as well. But you could see that was just a massive pump and dump. And yeah, I would say we're definitely still early within cryptocurrency. Like when you look at something like Ethereum, the Ethereum blockchain, it promised to be Web 3.0. It would have social media networks that can't be censored on it and all this. And what happened last year was, there was this app called CryptoKitties where you could basically, like, it's like digital Pokemon. It was the stupidest fucking thing in the world. Mm-hmm. And these guys basically, like, just the transaction volume over the first week of the mania of those CryptoKitty things, like, I think one sold for about $100,000, which was just insane as well. Like, someone's paying $100,000 for a digital cat, which is stupid. Mm-hmm. But it got like, that gave it, I guess, media hype. And what happened that week was like the Ethereum blockchain just grinded to a halt, and it was so slow, nobody could do anything. Like transactions were expensive, and it just ran so slow. And at that point, like, I realized that, yeah, we're definitely still early. The technology itself is still early, and there has to be a lot done to scale the networks, which is why I'm invested in a certain coin called EOS, which is pretty fast. Like, I think they got up to about almost 4,000 transactions per second, which is the fastest blockchain out there.
EOS? How do you spell it? EAOS?
No, EOS.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's created by Dan Larimer, and this guy's been in Bitcoin since the early days, probably like about 2010. And he started. Have you ever gone on the site Steemit?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, so he's the guy who created Steemit and the technology behind that. And if you ever use Steemit, like, it's pretty fast, and that's all on the blockchain, and it works because what they've done is they've basically changed the algorithm where you're not mining with a computer, but you're mining with your stake of tokens, or EOS itself is called delegated proof of stake. So basically, like, the network token holders are voting in who's actually producing the blocks on their computers. But yeah, like, this stuff is fast, and a lot of people, and it's the same thing. Like, I see where people say, oh, if you want to increase the block size, you get called a scammer, this and that. And, like, there's some arguments against EOS where you can say, oh, the block producers have too much control. And I believe there's some truth to that. But I've been transacting on EOS for now 3 months or 4 months or 5 months since it came out in June. And I haven't had an issue. Like, my money's still in my wallet. I haven't had anything taken out or any transactions canceled. And, like, it's peer-to-peer. And, like, I've played some games on it. And there's a game called Bet Dice, for instance. And they're doing more, like, this network's been around for basically, since June or July 1st, I think, and it's already faster than everything out there. And yeah, I would just say, like, once more companies build, like, social medias, and there's like a Facebook on EOS or whatever, I could be wrong. Like, there could be a coin that comes out tomorrow or the next day that takes over this thing, and it's just it's an ever-evolving world. So you gotta never, like, the one thing I always say to people is, like, don't get emotionally attached to whatever shitcoin you're in, because tomorrow your coin could be crappy. Like, it could be no longer the hot new thing, or the technology might not even be there anymore. And it's just like investing in stocks, right? Like, you never get too emotionally attached to your stock. Like, when it's time to sell, you sell, and you just don't look back at it. So it's the same thing. And what happens is, like, people, they get so stuck in their tribalism and their mentality of being stuck to one coin, that definitely creates a lot of tensions within the market too, where people are like, if you promote anything other than my favorite coin, you're a scammer. But no, like, if it should be where if you promote something else or you promote another coin, you should listen to that person and see, okay, well, what's your technology? How fast are you?
Yeah.
Is it secure? Like, why are we just getting into this, like, grade school mentality of name calling and being idiots?
Oh, it's the leftists that are doing that in the States.
Oh,
so the rest of the world is applying itself to it. Okay, I got something here. EOS, the protocol emulates most of its attributes to the real computing, including hardware, CPU, GPU, for processing, local RAM, memory, hard disk storage, with computing resources disrupted equally among EOS cryptocurrency holders. EOSIO operates smart contract platform and decentralizing operation system intended for deployment of an industrial scale, decentralized applications through decentralized autonomous corporation model. The smart contract platform claims to eliminate the transaction fees and also conduct millions of transactions per second. So
yeah, absolutely. It's like I said, as of right now, the million transaction per second thing, it's not been tested, so we can't say for sure that it's gonna do 1 million transactions per second. Excuse me. Okay. I believe it will. Like, I believe it probably will one of these days, but it hasn't done that yet. And until we see actual usage of the network and that happen, until then we have to remain skeptical. But like I said, they've reached 4,000 transactions per second, which is the fastest of any cryptocurrency out there. Like, there's nothing that can compete. I don't even know what Ethereum is. I think it's like 14 transactions per second. It's really low.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look, there's a site called blocktivity.info, and basically, like, EOS, it's the #1 blockchain within usage. Like, for instance, today, EOS has 3.5 million transactions. BitShares has 2 million. Steam has 818,000. Bitcoin has 523,000, and then in number 5, Ethereum has 520,000. So you're almost at a 10x of usage in a few months of EOS being out. And granted, a lot of this usage right now, like, it's just this one popular app that came out that's called Bet Dice, and it's just gambling. And because there's a lot of Chinese the Chinese community within EOS, like, you know, those guys love to gamble, so that's what's happening right now is there's a lot of gambling on it, and there isn't really much actual use case, which is sad because it runs so fast and smoothly, but one day we'll get there, right? So, but, you know, even like these gambling things, I'm not mad about it. I don't gamble, but I think it's great because it tests the network, tests the durability, the reliability of it, and, you know, it really pushes the limits. And yeah, it's just like, it's, in my opinion, EOS will be the number 2 coin or the number 3 coin very shortly, because once, like, I'm almost convinced that in order for the crypto market to like really thrive again, is we're almost going to have to get something like, because what happened early March of last year was Ethereum was the hot coin and was the hype coin, and you had this thing called the Ethereum Enterprise Alliance, and basically these guys came in and, like, you know, it was another Wall Street pump where basically, you know, like, oh, JP Morgan's partnering with Ethereum, the Ethereum Enterprise Alliance, all these other big corporations, Microsoft, whatever. Like, you can go on their website, Ethereum Enterprise Alliance, and it wasn't even Bitcoin that started the last bull run. It was Ethereum. So I feel like once people wake up and start building on EOS or whatever, maybe it might be another blockchain, because there's a lot of competitors out there right now. But once another thing like this happens, I believe we'll finally get back into a bull market. But as of right now, I probably wouldn't really suggest anyone to buy into cryptocurrency, because the trading is just, like you said earlier, you pulled up that article and the volume is so low. Like, for instance, on Coinbase, GDAX, like, it's the main fiat entry for people. Like, all the people who are new to cryptocurrency generally have to go through Coinbase to get their first bit of Bitcoin or Ethereum or Litecoin. Mm-hmm. And like today, there's only been 3,600 Bitcoin traded in the last 24 hours, which is just ridiculously low. And then, like, you know, you have Binance, which is traded. It's also very low. Like, I think they're at, what are they at right now for trading volume? It's very low, though. It's not much. It's, what is it? Hold on. It's something like 130 million. But the thing is, Binance is overrun with trading. No, it's not even 130 million. It was 130 million earlier today. Now it's at 97 million, mm-hmm. which, like, you know, in US dollar terms, that's not a whole lot. Especially for Binance. Like, there's been days where these guys trade 200 mil plus 300 mil. Like, when the market's really good, it can trade 500 million in a day. Mm-hmm. And right now it's at 97. And we can't even be sure that that's all, you know, natural trading, because, like I said, this exchange, it's overrun with trading bots and wash trading and spoof trading.
Yeah, wash trading is bad too, and shadow trading. So, guys, I got the website open. It's called Blocktivity, the real value of blockchains and blockchain activity matrix. This is what it looks like, guys, if you want to go to the website. And it's got the name here: activity average, record, market cap, AVI, and CUI. So you got it right here. EOS is number 1 with activity of 3,488,587, followed by BTS, then Steam, then Bitcoin, BTC, Ethereum in 5th, Waves in 6th, KMD. So when someone's looking at this chart, I mean, what does somebody look at when they want to buy a Bitcoin? Do they look at the price, affordability? Do they look at volatility? Do they look at liquidity? What are they looking at? Because I've never bought a Bitcoin. I mean, I've had some Bitcoins way back in the day. It's a long story. I had 9 of them. And
oh, God.
Yeah.
Don't tell me you lost them.
No, I cashed them in. I cashed them in when it was all over the news, when they reached around $21,000 or $20,000. I went nuts. But I found it, and I remember the password.
Nice.
Yeah, it's a long... Yeah.
When someone's looking to buy Bitcoin, I mean, what's your risk? What's your goal with Bitcoin? Are you, like, you know what I mean? Like I said, right now, I wouldn't consider this a good time to buy.
Right.
Because the market, in my opinion, still hasn't bottomed out. Like, I truly believe that Bitcoin needs to go under 6,000 mm-hmm. and well under 6,000. Like, maybe, you know, somewhere between the 3,000 and 5,000 range, to truly bottom out and, you know, shake out all the weak hands, all the people that just don't believe in Bitcoin or whatever. Personally, I'm not buying much Bitcoin anymore. Like, I have more interest in Bitcoin Cash and EOS. But, like, you know, obviously big Bitcoin's still the main number one currency, so it leads the market. And whatever Bitcoin does, the rest of the market follows. So when you're buying Bitcoin, like if you're a trader, I mean, there's really never a bad time to buy because the market's so volatile. Like, for instance, EOS is up, about 2% in the last 24 hours, and at one point it was at about up 4%. So if you're trading this stuff, like, it's 1,000 times better than anything you'll find within stock markets. Like, there's days you can just double your money within a couple hours.
So I'm looking at it here. The value is sitting at roughly 545 or 5-ish there, mid-5s there for EOS. Yeah, that's in US dollars. Yeah, and then I'm looking here, not too long ago, it was at 664, 619, 572. So you're right about that. You could buy and sell probably 4 times in one day if you really wanted to.
Oh, absolutely. Like, if you're a trader, this market is the perfect place for you. But if you're the average investor and you don't do your research, or you're just like, the whole thing about Bitcoin was, for the last couple of years, it was like, hodl, hold on for dear life is the meme that people spread. But at this point, like, that meme is dead. It's basically gotten to the point where you hodl, you're going to get wrecked if you're not, careful, because especially, the people, like, how did hodling work out if you got in at 20,000 and it's just like, oh, just hodl, it'll go up higher. Well, right now you're down, well over 60-70% of your money down. So it just really depends. And, like, what's your risk limit? What's your goal? Like, do you believe Bitcoin will go higher than 20,000 again? Do you believe it'll go higher than 10,000 again? Like, what's your end goal with Bitcoin?
What about the McAfee guy said it's going to go over $1 million?
He might be right in the long term, but we're so far away from that. Like, I think it's just he's a pump and dumper. Like, if you followed his Twitter last December when the market was going wild, like, he did a shit coin of the day. Like, every day he would promote, X coin, Y coin, B coin. Like, he's a pump and dumper. I don't really respect the guy. I think he's a little off his rocker. Like, he's nuts. He says some things that are right, but he's definitely, like, in that whole category of what I'd call a pump and dumper for sure, because I don't know. Like, I mean, it's possible when you look at the market cap of Bitcoin versus the market cap of gold or versus traditional assets, like, there's room for it to go to 100,000 or $1 million, sure, but we're so far away from that. The thing is, Mike, what you need for Bitcoin to really succeed is adoption. Like, nobody's using this other than to speculate on exchanges and trade. Like, right now, the majority of the volume and the transactions on Bitcoin are just people sending from exchange A to exchange B, or from one wallet to another wallet. Like, there's really not much buying or purchasing happening with Bitcoin. Like, when Amazon starts to accept Bitcoin, when you can pay for your coffee at Starbucks at Bitcoin, when you can go to Walmart, pay for your Walmart bill with Bitcoin, sure, maybe we'll start getting up to those prices. But until then, it's just not going to happen. And like I said, like, you can't use Bitcoin as money yet, like, because, well, like, right now the network, it's not overly congested, so it's relatively cheap. Like, you can send, for probably under $1 right now. But if it was to get congested like it was in December, nobody in their right mind is going to spend $20 for a $100 bill of fees, right? Like, you just, at that point, you're definitely better off using something like a credit card, which is also something I'd like to bring up on the whole block stream and, like, the core community of Bitcoin. Like, here, I'll just quote you a few tweets and say, like, quotes from people that, are heavily into, like, either Bitcoin developers or, like, the CEO of Blockstream. So here's a couple things. Like, this just shows you the intent of the people that are currently in the market, and which is why I'm very skeptical about Bitcoin at this point, and I'm more in the Bitcoin Cash camp, or just, actual fiat, or, trading it and just using it as a speculative vehicle rather than actually holding it for the future, because I believe it's going to turn into something massive. Like, for instance, you have Greg Maxwell, who's a developer. He said, credit cards give you a 2% to 3% cash back, super consumer friendly, anti-fraud, virtually no questions asked about fraud reversals, plus things like prices rollback, and you don't get forced to do business with crappy Bitcoin payment processors. So you have another developer, Jimmy Song, who says, spend your credit card with no debt on it, and when your credit card bill comes, just sell enough Bitcoin to pay the bill. So, like, you have these core people within the Bitcoin community that don't even want to use this shit as cash, which is just, it's asinine to me. I don't understand. Here we have Adam Back, who is the CEO of Blockstream. He's like, you could have some Bitcoin businesses have a tab, so you pay them and you work your tab there, and presumably you can cash your tab out if you don't use it. If you make if you have a repeat custom, maybe the shops in the local area could make a tab or something. So, like, this guy wants you to, start a tab and just kind of not really do your transactions every time you need to do a transaction because of the cost of it, which is just, like I said, to me, it's ridiculous. You have another guy, Brian Bishop, use credit cards to pay for your meal instead of Bitcoin. Luke Dash, then just use fiat. Pretty sure they'll charge more than 0.5% for the same service. You have Charlie Lee, who's the developer of Litecoin, but he's also invested within Lightning Labs, which is like basically the scaling solution that Blockstream is trying to propose. And he's not really forcing the credit card thing too much, but he's like, for day-to-day transactions, fiat is still easier, which is true. It's still easier, but if we want Bitcoin to really succeed, like, we need to use this as a cash system, because it's cryptocurrency, not crypto store of value or crypto gold. It's cryptocurrency.
Mm-hmm.
You have another Blockstream guy, Samson Mao. So 30 to 40 minutes and a $2 to $3 transaction fee may not compete with credit card payment for your coffee, but it doesn't need to. Saying credit cards are cheaper and better than Bitcoin used as a currency, So, like, this guy just, you have a very corrupted community where these people are buying into this propaganda of, like, I think there was one that really made me sick, and, like, I don't remember who tweeted about it or who said it, but basically someone's like, so how are people in the third world gonna, use Bitcoin as a currency? And the guy's like, Bitcoin's not for not for third world country people, which is like, that's dirty, man. Like, come on, like, Bitcoin's for everybody.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Bitcoin should be an open source, and that's what it is, and that was originally what it was made for. It was basically to piss off, just to kind of pee off the banks a bit, right? And pee off the middleman and pee off everybody, right? But then now
Absolutely. Like, it's basically like, and not only that, it's deflationary, so there will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin or 21 million Bitcoin Cash. And that, in my opinion, is the most powerful thing about it, is because you can't have someone like the Federal Reserve or the Bank of Canada come in and say, okay, well, inflation was 1% this year, so we need to, print out 1% more Bitcoin or 5% more Bitcoin or whatever.
Yeah.
These guys print money anymore, and that's the biggest fuck you about cryptocurrency. Is
watch the F-bombs. Watch the F-bombs. I don't want to get flagged.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I forget. It's just habit.
Yeah,
but basically, you know what I mean? Like, you basically, like, it's the biggest screw you to the central banks, not even just the regular banks. And on top of that, it is a big FU to the regular banks as well, because you don't have to go through SWIFT or through any of these things. Like, if you want to send, how long does it take? Does your wife send money back to her family in the Philippines?
Sometimes, yeah.
And how long does that process generally take?
You know what? I don't know. I think it just takes a couple of minutes. She goes up to the Western Union or whatever it is at the Walmart, tells them the money, and I'm not sure, to be honest with you.
But generally, if you do that through a bank or something, it takes a couple of days. Like, it's not instant, right?
Oh, okay. You
know what I mean? Like, with Bitcoin, like, say I have family back in Russia or wherever, and I send it to them, and, say, oh, you want $100? I'm going to send you $100.
Yeah.
With Bitcoin, it takes about, within seconds, the money is there, but then it takes 2 confirmations, because what Bitcoin does is you have to confirm the transaction on the blockchain through the miners. So it takes about seconds for them to see, oh, I got $100 in my wallet, and then they can spend it after 30 minutes. And that's another thing why I really like Bitcoin Cash, is because they reinstated something called zero confirmation transactions, which means even if it's not confirmed on the blockchain, you can spend that, like, that money's yours and it's there to spend already faster. And that was how Bitcoin was originally, but these guys, they basically took it out. And I just think there's a lot of like propaganda and just nonsense going on in the Bitcoin. And going back to what you said earlier, even the whole leftist thing, like, there's people, like, I've seen stupid people pushing, like, excuse me, we need more women in blockchain. We need more, girls getting involved with coding for blockchain. And it's like, well, how do you know they're not already here? Blockchain's anonymous. Like,
that's just Rosie O'Donnell. Rosie's an animal, so it doesn't really matter. Everything that Rosie's always on. I don't know if you saw her on Fox the other day, just trashing this and trashing that and trashing Trump. It's like, it's so the whole leftist thing. It's not even that. Okay, can I say something?
Absolutely.
What about Faith Goldie in Toronto? If she's running for mayor of Toronto, and voting is on the 21st of October of this month, of this week, and they're black shadow banning her and not allowing her to advertise, and she's completely blacklisted from everything. Why? Because she leans to the right. Oh, whatever happened to having more women in politics?
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's the exact same thing. It's like they only want more women within something if it's beneficial to their advantage.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, no, absolutely, I hear you there. Like, that's the same principle, right? But like I said, within Bitcoin or cryptocurrency, it's supposed to be not, like, Bitcoin's not anonymous. It's pseudo-anonymous. So like, if you bought, let's say, your Bitcoin on a regulated exchange like Coinbase, your ID and everything's there, so your Bitcoin address is linked to that.
Right.
But it is pseudo-anonymous, where if someone looks up your address that doesn't have any affiliation to Coinbase or to whoever you bought your Bitcoin from, like, they don't know who you are. There's just an address. There's no name Mike Martin's there on the address. And that's one of the other powerful things about cryptocurrencies, is it's private. And that's why I like the cryptocurrency called Monero.
Yes,
because
Monero,
that one
yeah.
is absolutely 100% private. Like, for instance, there was, a seizure of cryptocurrency from some deep website, and in the article, like, they basically got, like, the guy's computer, but I don't think they got his Monero, because they didn't even know how much. Like, you need the private key in order to actually know how much they seized. And they basically said they seized, like, 200,000 Bitcoin, so-and-so Ethereum, and then it's funny because it's, like, an unknown amount of Monero. So Monero is good in that sense, where there is a blockchain, but there's no public ledger. Like, you need to see the spend key, and you need to have either the spend key or the private key to actually see what's within an address. So, like, I could have $1 million on a Monero wallet, and nobody's gonna even know I have how much I have. Like, it could be $1 or 10 million, and nobody knows. And that's why I like that cryptocurrency called Monero. It's pretty good.
Do you see criminals using it, like huge drug cartels and stuff, instead of moving huge amounts of cash around, like carloads of cash?
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, you're gonna see criminals and terrorists and all this shit all these people using it too. But there was a study that came out recently, and I believe at this point in time that we're in, like, like you said, we're still in the early kind of pioneer stage of cryptocurrency. Like, there was more people using, more drug cartels, more money laundering being done through U.S. dollars than through Bitcoin.
Okay,
so it's like,
I got an article here. Bitcoin and blockchain jobs in the U.S. are surging. The U.S. job boom, which saw a record 7.14 million unfilled positions in August, coupled with last year's Bitcoin mania, has resulted in 300% increase in the number of jobs related to Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, and blockchain over the last 12 months, according to the new research from job site Glassdoor. As of August 2018, there were 1,775 Bitcoin and blockchain-related job openings in the U.S., up from 693 from the beginning of the year and 446 at this time last year. Despite the Bitcoin and wider cryptocurrency market struggling throughout the year, it would seem from job openings that both establishment and startup companies are taking the possibilities of Bitcoin and cryptocurrency and blockchain seriously. So that's good. They're taking it seriously, and it looks like there's more and more jobs being available right now. A lot of jobs, actually. The job market seems primed to continue its rapid growth into the future, the report says.
Oh, absolutely. Like, if I was to give any, developer advice right now, I would say, of all the programming languages, learn C++ and start learning how to develop on EOS, because my opinion, and I just feel like it's going to happen within the next year or two. It's already happening, but within about a year, there's going to be a huge demand of people that know EOS and know the blockchain and that know C++, the programming language, and how to actually, develop smart contracts for EOS. And these guys just released some, they have lots of developer documentation, and so it's easy to learn. It's not like you got to go and, learn something that's not learnable or there's no information. That's what the company Block One that released the EOS software, they did a good job of giving out a lot of developer information, documents, and they just put out a game the other day. It's some stupid, you play a game and you basically learn how to develop for EOS at the same time. So, or at the other end of the day, I'm not very bullish on Ethereum. I think Ethereum has a lot of issues, but even learning a programming language like Solidity, I think that would help too, because if say you're a developer and you manage to learn, 2 or 3 blockchain languages, you're in a really good spot for the future.
Yeah.
And it goes way beyond developers, but in my opinion, the developers are the most valuable. But I think marketing, there's going to be every blockchain company or whatever, even though, like I said, 99% of them are scams or gonna fail and they'll just go out of business or the coin will go to zero or whatever. If you have these skills and you can help, I think where a lot of the big blockchain jobs will come in the future is just helping, Microsoft or whatever big company, Amazon, to develop their internal systems to connect with blockchains, or just, even consulting, stuff like that. The options are endless, but marketing, everybody can get a job within blockchain. No matter lawyers, for instance, there's the lawyers are laughing with this stuff because every company that does an ICO, they have to go get consultation on what can we do, what's legal, we need a contract, we need this. And even today I saw an article, Floyd Mayweather and DJ Khaled are getting sued. So there's on both ends, for the companies and against them. It's definitely bringing a lot of jobs and stimulus to the economy. But like I said, we're still in the stage where none of this stuff's being used. Even EOS with its 3 million transactions a day, that ain't really a lot, man. It's how many operations would Facebook do on a regular day? How many, I would assume there's way over 1 billion people clicking like, clicking share every day, right? So until we get to those points, the cryptocurrency market's still in its infancy. And like I said, right now with the trading volume so low, for instance, Bitfinex, this is an exchange that doesn't do too much wash trading, and that's why I kind of like these guys. Right now, Bitcoin has $31 million in 24-hour volume. Granted, it's the weekend, and not a lot of people trade on the weekend. That is extremely low. I haven't seen it this low all year, or probably since last year when nobody even gave a shit about. Sorry for language. When nobody gave 2 craps about Bitcoin or Ethereum or any of this stuff. And EOS right now has 10 million in volume, which is extremely low. EOS at the peak back in May, when it was really getting its hype, it was doing 100 million a day, 80 million a day. Bitcoin was doing 300, 200 million, 100 million maybe some days when it was lower, but $31 million to be traded in 24 hours for Bitcoin, that's extremely low. And that's why I wouldn't suggest anybody to be loading the boat and going all in yet. Granted, the markets are down a lot from the peak. I would say it's not the time to be selling.
Could it be a correction?
Oh, it is a correction. Absolutely. It's a correction. It's not, don't get me wrong, Bitcoin's not dead and it's not a scam, and the cryptocurrency market's not going away anytime soon. It's not the doomers will say, but it's definitely a correction. The biggest concern for me right now is the Bitcoin to US dollar monthly chart. the most basic indicator for traders is the MACD, and this, like, on the monthly level, it just looks awful. Like, it's the MACD's way negative, and it's going down every month, and that's why I say I really think, like, we're getting to a point where we're going to need to hit somewhere like 3,000 to 5,000 before the market can go up again. Or maybe we'll just do what we've been doing for the last 2 or 3 months and trade from 6,000 to 7,000 while that indicator resets as well, and like some of the other charts get, because anything that goes from $1,000 to $20,000 in a year, like, that's extremely oversold. And yeah. Bitcoin is one of those assets that can be overbought. I mean, not oversold, but like Bitcoin's one of those assets that can get extremely overbought. And then on the flip side, crashing down now, like, it can become extremely oversold. So,
question.
Like I said, anyone looking to buy, like, it's not the time to be going all in. It's the time to maybe buy a bit here, wait a month, see where the price is, buy again. If you're a trader, you know when to buy. Like, you know when to buy, you know when to sell. You don't need my advice. But if you're the average person looking to get started with this kind of stuff, I would say just start averaging your price in and don't go all in at once, because that's the stupidest thing you can do. And sorry, you had a question?
Yeah, I have a question. Very important one. Is demand for Bitcoin mining in decline? Chip maker slashes target.
Yeah, I'd say that. Well, definitely. The thing is, I wouldn't even say the demand's down, because if you look at if you go on your computer right now, I'm sure you have it in front of you with your audience. Just search Bitcoin hash rate chart.
Mm-hmm.
And if you find that, like, you'll see that the amount of miners on the network, even with Bitcoin crashing from 20,000 to 2,000, it's gone up a lot. So I wouldn't say that, like, there's much less sales. And if you're talking graphic cards and people that are mining Ethereum, which is mined with graphic cards like AMD, NVIDIA, and all those guys, like, they've definitely seen a hit on their sales. But I wouldn't say Bitcoin mining itself is anywhere near, like, out of demand. Like, there's more power on the network than ever. Although there is the conspiracies too, where, like, some people will say, like, perhaps somebody just developed a new chip for mining that's not publicly available, and they're just mining this stuff in secret.
I have something here. Taiwan Semiconductor Manufacturing Company, the world's largest dedicated independent chip maker, has predicted a drop in demand from cryptocurrency mining community in the fourth quarter of this year. The growth target to 7 to 9% was slashed to 6.5%, partially due to the demand of dynamics of Bitcoin miners. Crypto mining demand for TSMC chips to weaken further in Q4 sales 2018, says CEO.
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of given. But like I said, like, there could be a company out there or a group or an organization of people that created because there's new chips coming out all the time. And especially in the Bitcoin market, what, like, a lot of companies will do, especially, like, I've heard this happen with Bitmain a few times, like, they'll release a miner, but only release it, like, months or maybe even years after they've been using that miner themselves, because it's more profitable to use your own miner in some cases rather than to sell the chips or sell the miner. Like, if you have this breakthrough and say you're getting 10x more Bitcoin than the current technology, why would you sell that, right? Like, it's almost stupid in that sense.
So you think people would be hoarding technology if it's doing better than what's on the market now? Do you think that's happening? Like secret
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I believe that for sure, because like I said, like, if you look at that Bitcoin hash rate chart, it's gone parabolic. Like, there's a lot of power on the network right now, and it's really interesting. Like I said, it's an interesting dynamic. So the whole market is just, like, it's in a weird place. Like, I don't think we're going to see much action probably till, like, maybe March 2019. Until then, we'll probably just go sideways or go down.
Okay.
But, yeah, I don't know. Nobody knows the future either, but that's just if I had to guess, right, after being in this market for so long. Like, it's like how I was saying earlier, it can be extremely overbought. At the same time, it can be extremely oversold. Like, when the for me, my buy sign is going to be when the weekly RSI gets down to like, you know, the 13 to 20 range, something like that, which is what happened in about 2015 before we started this last run up from 2015 to now.
Mm-hmm.
So I think still got a lot, not monthly, sorry, that's the weekly chart I'm thinking of that needs to go down to about that low. The monthly might still be higher, but like I said, we're in a point where it's just, I would never give the advice to someone, go all into Bitcoin now. And here's the other kicker, why I think Bitcoin could do really, like, price action wise, really bad over the next little while, is because everyone says, oh, Bitcoin's a great store of value for when the economy's crashing, you know, this and that.
Yeah.
But if you look historically, 2008, when the stock market crashed, gold went right with it. It wasn't only until after the market kind of bottomed that gold way outperformed the stock market until 2013.
Mm-hmm.
But it didn't do like anything exceptional. And, you know, Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies, they're not gold. Like, what I would lump these things into right now is technology. Like, it's a technology. And what does the worst in recessions or depressions? Technology.
Technology, .com sectors, and all that crap.
Speculative stuff, right?
Yeah.
Speculative investments do the worst. So Bitcoin, cryptocurrencies, like the whole market, everyone's saying, oh, crypto will be fine if the stock market goes down. But, like, I think that's just a meme at this point. Like, I don't believe that it's going to prove that out. Granted, in the long run, there's no chance for a bailout or for, like, anything to come to Bitcoin where they can just print in more funny money. So Bitcoin it's decent in that regard, where, like, long term, one of these cryptocurrencies will win. I believe it's going to be Bitcoin Cash over Bitcoin in the long run once more people wake up. But that's just my personal opinion.
Mm-hmm.
And I truly do believe, like, there's future within cryptocurrencies, absolutely, but it's just now's not the time to be, you know, going all in or anything like that.
Okay.
So,
okay.
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic. But anyway, we've been on the phone for an hour, so I'm going to let some of your other guests have some time, man.
Anyways, so the guys, this is Augustine Santa Rosa, and I want to thank you very much for giving us some more insight. I'd like for you to become a regular, to call in maybe once every couple of, maybe I could have you, like with, I don't know, maybe a 3 to 5 minute spot on intermittently on shows, just to come in and tell us where Bitcoin's at, where it's going, who is trading, what to look at, you know, give us a 3 minute or a 5 minute plug on where Bitcoin is at, you know what I'm saying?